morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today we need to talk about the alternate art Eeveelution VMAXs, because these are starting to get silly, and it's only going up from here. You see, ladies and gentlemen, I showed you a couple of days ago that those boxes like the Flareon VMAX box are starting to come back into Walmart. And that got me thinking about the other alternate art VMAXs. Because remember, there's only actually 4 of them that you can get in Evolving Skies in the set. Because do remember that Espeon was actually ended up in Fusion Strike, and I will happily admit, right, when I heard that it was coming in Fusion Strike, I didn't really believe it, because it didn't really make much sense, because why would it? That didn't track. It should have been in Evolving Skies, but it wasn't. It ended up in Fusion Strike. And then, of course, you've got your Flareon, Jolteon, and Vaporeon, which were the alternate arts that actually came in these VMAX Premium collections. So we have ended up in a situation where Evolving Skies is only actually giving us 4 of them. And we're also in a situation where time is really running out to get these for a reasonable price. And when I say reasonable price, this is very much, it's an in-context thing. Because these are already getting pretty gosh darned high. These are becoming very expensive cards. And it's probably only going to go up from here. Now, obviously, the big one here is Umbreon. That shouldn't really surprise anyone. Now, we're going to start off over on TCG Player. We're going to look at the 3-month graphs. And you can see that over the last 3 months, Umbreon VMAX has been climbing pretty steadily. 3 months ago, it was a $315 card. It is now a $430 card. And you'll notice that it's going up pretty consistently. And at this stage, you shouldn't really be expecting it to come down. It has been climbing pretty steadily over the past 3 months. But this is not the only card that was available in terms of these alternate art Eeveelutions over in Evolving Skies. Now, the one that I really want, the one which I'm kind of missing the boat on so far, is Leafeon VMAX. Now, as I'm sure a bunch of you will know, this is Hyganasuke artwork, and I am a gigantic fan of Hyganasuke. Second favorite artist after Okacheke. I think the work they do is absolutely amazing. I actually found out, as a little side note, this week I found out they've done a 3rd Kirby book. Yeah, Hyganasuke has drawn some Kirby books, like official Kirby books over in Japan. I ordered the first 2, there's a 3rd, I'm definitely going to be picking it up. Bit weird. But you'll notice that for Leafeon, there is a similar kind of thing, except actually it was, 3 months ago, it was a $95 card. It went up in mid-April to a $150 card, and it's now settling in at about $140. Make no mistake about it, this is a little bit of a fluctuation, as we can tell by the other cards. This is, and you'll see over the past couple of weeks, it has started creeping up again, and you should expect this to keep happening. Now, Glaceon, you see a very similar kind of graph to Leafeon, but it's just a little bit less pronounced. 3 months ago, we're talking about $90 card. It actually goes up to about $140 card in May, but then it's $130 again here. So, a very similar kind of graph, although the fall a couple of months ago wasn't quite as pronounced as it was for Leafeon. But again, you'll notice it's creeping back up again quite nicely. And then the last one we saw here was Sylveon. Now, this is annoying me a little bit, because Sylveon is actually the one I pulled. And you'll notice it's the one which is the cheapest. We are going down in descending order. But even this, it started as, say, a $115 card. It's now at a $120 card. It did in May go up to $160. This one's actually fallen quite a bit. But as I'm going to show you in a minute, we're still expecting these to go up. The others are going up. Sylveon isn't right now, but it's going to start going up fairly quickly. And this is what we're basically getting at in this video. These prices are getting silly. Because now what I want to do, I want to go back. I want to go back to Umbreon. And now I want to do the 1 year graph. Because the 1 year graph kind of shows us what's going on here. Because what you'll see happening with all of these is what I always tell you is going to happen. Initially, the set releases, prices come down. That's always happened. Now, it is worth noting that Evolving Skies was last year's August set. It came out on August the 27th. And you'll notice that, it was starting in October here. And you'll notice that the price is coming down, which always happens. After the release of a set, you always see even the biggest cards start coming down. And Umbreon ends up actually at one point as low as 170. Then it goes up a bit, and it goes down a tiny bit, and now it's going up, and it's currently sitting at, as we saw, a $430 card. It is frankly a little bit huge. You saw it came down a little bit after release, and I keep telling you this over and over again every set. People still don't listen. When a set releases, even the most sought after cards generally tend to fall initially. We can see a very similar thing with Leafeon. When it, back in end of September, it's a $95 card. And then it falls down as low as a $75 card, goes as high as $155 and settles at $140. So even this one, we see a pretty drastic fall, then it goes up. And this is why the 3-month graph is not necessarily the best one to look at, because sure, we do see a pretty dramatic fall there, but actually it never falls as low as it started back in September, and then it settles quite a bit higher. We can see the same thing going on with Glaceon here. Yes, there is a little bit of a fall, but actually, starting from the end of September, it goes down a bit, and then when it starts going up, it never gets that low again. So at the end of September, we're talking about a $90 card. It falls as low as an $80 card, but it's settling here at $130. So sure, it went down and it's not quite got back up to the peak, but you can see there that it's heading back up to the peak. And even Sylveon, Sylveon doesn't quite fit the model as well as the others, I will admit. Started as a $115 card, dropped as low as an $85 card, and it's now $120. So even Sylveon, which is not fitting the trend as well as the others, is still there above where it was in September. And let's be clear, even though one of these 4 cards doesn't suit as well as the others, I fully expect Sylveon to climb up with the others. All of these are climbing. And here's the thing. We are now just over a year out from the release of the set. Things aren't going to keep getting better. Things are going to keep getting worse. I've shown you a bunch of times now that when we look at booster boxes, the one set in the Sword and Shield era which refuses to go back down to retail, save the occasional restock on the Pokémon Center, is Evolving Skies. The last one that sold over on eBay over in the US sold for $220 from a retail of $144, roughly. And this isn't unusual. This is generally what they're selling for. This is an over $200 box right now. So, look, I know the chances of actually pulling these cards from booster boxes are crazy slim. But don't even try it. Because the booster boxes are crazy expensive. And this is the thing. Because the booster boxes are so expensive, that means your chances of opening up and pulling them become much lower. And all this is doing is fueling the card. The single goes up, but the further we get away from the set, the more expensive it gets. Which means the fewer people are actually opening it. Which means the fewer singles are out there. Which is going to push the price of singles up. Now, I know we're looking at the Eeveelutions here. I know that is the goal. But let's not forget there is one other card in Evolving Skies which is a little bit dumb. And that is Rayquaza. And if we look at the 3-month graph here, we can see exactly what we would expect from what we've talked about. Sure, there's a tiny downturn right at the end. But over the course of the last 3 months, this Rayquaza has jumped up quite nicely. From $215 to $250. And if we go to the 1-year graph, oh look, it's exactly the same. Although it is a little bit more pronounced. This one actually falls quite a lot harder and for a bit longer than the Eeveelutions did. Started as a $240 card, went down as low as $150. But you'll notice here it's up to $250, so it has now eventually climbed up higher than it was back at the end of September. And you'll notice that all of these graphs look slightly different, but there is a real strong trend we've seen here, and that is from the end of September, about a month after release, the value of the cards is falling because the set is out there and everyone's buying it and everyone's opening it. There's lots of singles out there, so everyone's selling, and that brings the price down. And then the further we get away from the set, it starts creeping up, and all of them are now basically as expensive as they've been, or climbing back up there. Here's the difference, and the difference is very important. There's nothing that's really going to bring them back down again. What generally brings the price of singles down is a big restock of the product, and then lots of people are opening it again, and that brings the price of singles down. But we've seen, even when the Pokemon Center restocks it, it never falls below retail. Why would it? It's an amazing set. Sometimes you can get it on the Pokemon Center at retail, but that really is about it. And Evolving Skies is Sword and Shield 7. We've just seen the release of Lost Origin, which is Sword and Shield 11. We're gearing up in actually less than 2 months to the release of Silver Tempest, which is Sword and Shield 12. Plus, since Evolving Skies came out, we've also had the release of Pokemon Go, which is a pretty big deal. And actually, Pokemon have got enough on their plate right now to be going and trying to reprint sets that are older. And like, everybody knows that this is the best set, and everybody knows this is the one that everybody's after. But actually, there's only so much Pokemon can print, and that's kind of the point here. These cards are jumping up in price pretty significantly. I expect them to keep growing, and I think if you want to get singles of these Eeveelutions, your time is running out. Obviously, the ones that come in boxes, that is a little bit different. And like I say, if you can find them in your Walmart, go for them. Please, and I know this is probably falling on deaf ears because the kind of people that are going to do that probably aren't watching this video. Please don't be that person that finds them in Walmart and buys all of them so nobody else can, just so you can try and resell them later. I know people are probably going to, but I don't know. Hey-ho. Interestingly enough, when it comes to the Espeon doesn't actually fit the graph anywhere near as nicely. Back at the end of October, that is when Fusion Strike actually came out, or really that's kind of like the pre-release style time, you'll see a very sharp drop after the release of the set, as you would expect. Espeon is not recovering anywhere near as fast as the other Eeveelutions. Now, to be fair, this was from Fusion Strike, which was a set that came out 3 months later. But I do think, even though Fusion Strike wasn't a great set, boxes of Fusion Strike are still pretty readily available below retail. So, yes, Espeon is still an alternate art Eeveelution, but the difference is the other ones came from Evolving Skies, this came from Fusion Strike, and, right now, over on eBay, I can be picking up a booster box of Fusion Strike for just over $100 all day long. So that's why Espeon is not getting as silly as the others, because Fusion Strike is still very readily available below retail. And if you want the singles to really jump up in price, you have to wait until the set starts becoming awkward to find, which is happening with Evolving Skies. If, like me, you want to go and get one of these singles, I want that Leafeon. Honestly, time is starting to run out. It is starting to get a bit silly. As a side note, if anybody wants to trade my Sylveon for your Leafeon, hit me up on Twitter at TheWassy because I love the Sylveon. It's wonderful artwork, but Haigonosuke, need that card. Also, maybe soon we'll talk about the Japanese prices of these cards, which make our prices look adorable. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you think about this. I want to know if you've pulled any of these. I want to know if you're interested in any of these. I want to know if you're going after them. Let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wasi. That's where we talk Pokemon and card games and Pokemon card games and all kinds of fun things. And please do consider checking out patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can support the channel. You can get some weekly bonus pods where I answer all of your questions. And you can get shout-outs like the lovely Mary Sanders Lazenby, who is one of our supporters and is a very lovely person. So thank you, Mary, for the support, and thank you for being a very lovely person. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.